Well, hard to believe we're down to the last regular season weekend. It's been a crazy season, obviously, for 45 games. I felt like we were potentially the best team in the country. The last 10 or so, we have not been. But we're going to continue to push forward, continue to figure out ways to maximize what we have, and try to make a heck of a run here at the end. So happy to answer questions.
Mark, we'll do the obligatory. How's Will Sanders doing? Do you anticipate him to pitch this weekend, and what's the rotation?
No, Will will not pitch this weekend, but we're hopeful that as we get further into this in a week or two that he'll be getting in a position where he can help us. So, but he will not pitch this weekend. Rotation, not ready to officially name it right now, but we will soon. We will soon.
Mark, Tennessee seems to have figured things out a little bit over the last couple of weeks, seems to be clicking. When they're going well, what are some of the things that really stand out, or who are some of the players that are really clicking, and who's key to stop this weekend for them?
Well, I mean, we think obviously with them, their identities, they have power arms. They like to really come at you on the mound with power arms, and then offensively, they're pretty left-handed. They're a momentum offense. They like to feed off energy and momentum. So there's a lot of really good players in that lineup. I don't want to say just one or two because there's a lot of good ones in there. So they have some returning players that have gotten better. They brought in some guys out of the portal that have helped them. So it's a good team, no question about it. And but so are we. So we'll see.
I'll do the DC here. Any update on McGillis from last night or Jersenbeck from last week?
Jersenbeck will not pitch again for us this year. Will McGillis just got an X-ray, and we were a little fearful that maybe he had re-broke it. That is not the case. So he still potentially could help us down the road. Probably will need some time again to rest and let it settle down. But it is not a season-ending injury. Got to sprint, Kent. You got to sprint. Too much dead time on there. Come on, edit that out up there.
When it comes to your position player guys, your Braylons or Talmadge, how close to 100% are they? Are they fighting through things to try to be out there and in the field right now, or are they close to 100%?
No, they're fighting, John. They're fighting. Like they know the situation we're in. They know we need them. We're not at full capacity. We've got the guys with the hamstrings are still protecting their hamstrings. But they're tough kids. They're winners. They want to be out there. They know we need them. So, no, we are not playing at 100% right now. But Lee Croy had a hell of a game last night playing through it. Wimmer is giving us everything he has right now. But they're not 100%. They may not be. It's 16 days. We looked at it. It's 16 days before the first game of the regional. I think we'll be 100% in a lot of areas by then, and we just have to be smart about getting there.
What does Eli Jones bring to you on Friday nights or Thursday this week?
He brings maturity. He brings good stuff. He brings a good fastball that he can command. He brings a good slider that he can command. When he's on top of his game, it's 3 pitches for strikes. And he's a competitor. He has the respect of his teammates. He's just a guy that you're willing to go to battle with because he works hard. He brings everything to the table that you want. So when he's on the mound, our guys feel like we have a chance to win just because of how he competes.
Now you mentioned Veach had the hip last night. That's nothing that's going to keep him out this weekend against Tennessee?
We don't think so. Again, everything's day-to-day. We're all day-to-day. You, me, we're all day-to-day. Veach is day-to-day.
And Ethan has obviously scuffled the last couple weeks in SEC play. What have you seen from him in terms of why that might be and how confident he'll be able to kind of get out of that before this regional?
Well, yeah, and looked at some video this week. Monty, we all looked at video and saw some things that were just a little bit different in his setup and his load up. Just little tweaks, and I think he was getting maybe a little bit too pull happy, and there's a cause and effect there. Are the mechanics causing him to be pulling the ball too much? Is it mentally he's trying to pull the ball too much, and that affects the mechanics? It's different with every hitter. It's a chicken and the egg. But the bottom line is he needs to get back to being a guy that drives the ball through the middle of the field, and we saw signs of that last night. He had the 2 doubles last night, and we saw signs of him being back much closer to what he had been for the great majority of the season. So, again, we just need to build on that.
Yeah, Mark, you said that you guys aren't playing at 100% right now. Just going back to earlier in the season, you said that this team played with a lot of grit. What goes into bringing some of that grit back this weekend in particular, because it's a pretty big weekend?
Well, the grit has not left. I will tell you that. The fact that guys are playing at not 100% is grit personified. We're playing with grit. We're just not playing as well as we did the first 45 games of the year because we're not at full capacity. That's just the bottom line. But this team hasn't given up by any stretch. They play hard. They have grit. They're doing everything they can. It's just right now, I mean, we're limited, and we're just having to fight our ass off to compete. If we get back to full capacity, I think we go right back to being one of the best teams in the country. I'm 100% confident of that.
Based on the lineup you put out last night with McGillis and left, you had the opportunity to take Tippett out, but you didn't. What do you see in him that you like about him that makes you want to keep him in the lineup apart from just being healthy?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a big. He's one of the healthy guys, which makes him a great candidate to play, John. No, he's trending in a very good direction. You know, he's got 3 homers in the last 12 games, I think it is, which is about as good as anybody we have right now. He brings a speed element to the game. He produced a run last night with a couple steals and a wild pitch. So he brings elite defense, elite defense on the infield. But he's also a guy we could slide out to center field if necessary as well. So he's trending in a good direction. You've noticed he's given up left-handed hitting for now as a switch hitter and hitting just right-handed, and he's taken to that pretty well, and his production has gone up significantly once he's done that. And so he's a guy that helps you win because he has great range in the middle of the field, which is extremely important. You've got to have great range in the middle of the field defensively. He can steal a base for you. On a power team, you need some guys that can steal bases, and him, Wimmer, and Brewer can all steal a base when Wimmer's healthy, obviously. So he brings a lot to the table, and I think he's trending in a good direction.
One more clarifying question. You don't anticipate Wimmer being able to play in the field this weekend, or is there a shot?
TBD. But again, we've got to target 16 days from today and make sure that we have the team we want to put out there on the field. When there's only 64 teams left playing, we need to try to have the best team we can have out there. And so we just have to make decisions with that in mind. And there's going to be some short-term decisions, but also some big-picture decisions.
You said after Arkansas you're very confident this offense will get going over the course of these next 16 days before a regional. What have you seen in practice, and then again last night, that leads you to believe, okay, we got the guys in here that'll
for me, as we've been struggling, I think I mentioned Ethan, has gotten maybe a little bit too pull happy. I think we have a few guys that maybe have fallen into that trap, and so we've just really put an emphasis back on what our foundation is, and that's using the whole field. That's not trying to pull every fastball. It's being willing to pull, put the fastball in the opposite gap when you get the opportunity, because that keeps you on the off-speed pitches. And I've noticed for about the last week, to 2 weeks, we've been taking a lot of hanging breaking balls that we had been crushing all year. And that comes with, not to get too much in the weeds of hitting philosophy, but when you can drive the fastball the other way, it keeps your bat in the zone long enough to hit hanging breaking balls and hanging changeups. And so it all works together. So, we've kind of gotten back to the basics with that. I saw a lot of the effects of that last night. Last night was our best offensive performance in a while, and they threw good arms. Those weren't, guys throwing 85 miles an hour last night. Those were real arms. The average fastball we faced last night was about 92 miles an hour. So those are real arms, and so I saw a glimpse of what we can be again. So we just have to put it all together. We pitched and played defense against Arkansas. We really swung it last night. It's just a matter of putting all three together.
One more, but you mentioned a couple weeks ago you do pay attention some to the postseason projections, and right now I think you guys are still in that host line, but not a top 8. How do you toe the line of letting guys know, hey, there is a lot to play for, and telling them that versus not really addressing it and having them press too much, if that makes sense?
Well, they all have these phones. They all are on the internet all the time. They're all on social media. So I think that stuff is front and center for them. I think they know that without us having to tell them. What I will say is, I think it's going to be interesting because I just saw, if I'm not mistaken, the Alabama softball team just got the overall 5 national seed for the softball tournament, and they finished 5th in the SEC. So I think that's an interesting precedent to look at, because if you look at our metrics, they're off the charts. After last night, it's a 5 RPI. I think it's a 5 strength of schedule. We have the 3rd most quadrant 1 wins in the entire country. So the metrics are off the chart there, you know. So where we finish in the league is going to be interesting to see how they look at, because another interesting stat, and I'm sure you guys have seen what Mark Etheridge put out there, the SEC schedules, and you know the difference between what the toughest schedule in our league is versus the worst. And it's interesting to see who had the easiest schedules and where they are in the standings. And the Gamecocks had the hardest SEC schedule this year based on how things fell. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of those things are considered on selection day. All that is to answer your question, to say we don't say any of that stuff to our players. We just get them ready to play. I mean, that's what we do. All right. Appreciate you.